What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Success After Trauma.
The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com.
Today we launch Season 2, and we're bringing on a co-host, Mike Cimorelli. Mike is a good friend of mine, and he's actually been on 2 other episodes on episode 1 of Success After Trauma. Now, this Season 2 is going to be a 12-week series in which we're going to share with you how to step into your power. What is stepping into your power? Stepping into your power is realizing that we all have that one thing that we truly feel inadequate about, that we feel that we're less or inferior to others, and so we hide it and we build walls, which becomes a cage that we live inside of. But it's really because of our model of the world projected onto others. We're going to help you step into your power so that you can highlight what that thing is, put it on a pedestal. This is who you are. Your people are going to show up and celebrate you, and it's going to feel better than it has ever felt before in your life. I know you might be afraid because some people might not celebrate you. Some people you might have thought were close to you, and they might say some harsh things. They might share some negative energy with you. They're just not your people in this chapter. We can still love them because they might show up in another chapter. Stay with us for the next 12 weeks while we share our personal journey, how we overcame our obstacles, and share tips with you on how you can step into your power. It's my privilege to have Mike on here and to get to have him as a co-host. Mike is an incredible guy who has had some incredible experiences and really unique conversations in his life. Over the next 12 weeks, he's going to share a little bit of his unique conversations with us. Mike hasn't always been in his power, though. Once upon a time, Mike had his one thing that was in the background that kept him feeling a certain kind of way, thinking that the world was looking at him a certain kind of way. But Mike learned how to step into his power, and now his people celebrate him. Mike, thanks for being a co-host with us. Can you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Mike Cimorelli, and I actually thought I had many things, and those many things are the exact boundaries and barricades, whatever, walls that Greg is talking about, behind the one thing that I assumed was a defect, and that is actually my hands. I thought that God sneezed and closed his eyes when he was creating me, and I was made flawed. And that one thing was just a little difference that I noticed when I was a kid, turned out, or it parlayed into many negative self-judgments and, areas of self-sabotage. And so I started finding this out. In fact, because of this one thing, I was forced to learn the art of mastery at an extremely young age. And I've applied that to many different skill sets, from music to building computers to engineering to mechanics. And I actually moved to Tennessee from Malibu about 7 years ago, where I've been selling beautiful homes and actually teaching people how to step out of their traumas. And it's crazy because during that time here, just working on that, it all clicked. For the past 15 years, I've been entrenched in personal development, psychology, and business development. Like anything entrepreneurial just goes, boop, turns
Mike,
my light bulb on.
What are your thoughts around, do you feel like, or what can you share with us when you were, so Mike does know how to do a lot of high level, unique talents, i.e. rebuilding watches, photography, videography, musician, audio programming, a lot of really unique things, but at a very high level. What are your thoughts around, can you identify with, or what can you share with us? Were you running, was learning these things a way of escaping and trying to build value and then going next to next to next? Or what was that like for you?
Oh, 100%. It actually, so the fact that I felt so flawed that I needed to have these things in front of me so that people would love me, I'm just going to throw it out there like that, was a huge burning desire and a motivational force that I used to learn these skill sets. When I say learn, I would take something that I'd be interested in. I would magnify that interest with what many people would call the ADHD hyperfocus, which I've actually corrected that over the years too. But I would take the hyper focus and I would actually, I have a whole strategy and a whole timeline process that I call the Spartan, which is a version of me I become. And I use this and I propel myself towards mastery. And I learn all the terminology, all the tactics, all the different areas, all the frameworks. I memorize all the stats, and I become a professional, and then I test myself. And so actually I share this in one of our Achieve Ascension Academy classes or courses rather. It's pretty in depth, but once you click this, I actually teach people how to basically take years and condense those into weeks, which is pretty cool. I don't want to share like every single thing because we'll be here for like hours, but it's if somebody's interested in exploring
So
that.
so since you, what is the weight, how does it feel when, so before, now you used your trauma for positive, and that's exceptional for all the listeners. Okay, Mike took his trauma and said, this isn't going to hold me down, so I'm going to use it for something good. So he learned all these unique tasks, or all these unique skills at a very, very, very high level. However, man, how you were a slave to your own rules. Like, how does it feel now that you know that you're validated without these things, and you can continue to go learn whatever you want at as a high level as you want, but you're free? How does it feel?
Let me give two answers to that question. And one of them is like a pre-assumed answer, and the other one is a direct answer. So the first answer is, I mean, it feels, I think that was me. Um, it feels incredible understanding that I am actually an amazing human. And actually, I believe you, Greg, are an amazing human. And I believe that anyone listening to this is an amazing human. And if you don't believe you're an amazing human, I would love your Greg and I to be able to challenge that, or one or both of us, whatever. I challenge that. The reason is, answering your question directly, it feels so good um to have it, and it's really just about belief, because like I'm the same person I was yesterday,
Boom.
and I'm actually the same person I was 10 years ago. However, I
However,
make radically different decisions than I made 10 years ago. And that's the first. And the second thing is, and you guys will totally say aha to this, like we'll just call them like guardian angels or God's messengers, but people have been telling me that I'm actually amazing throughout my entire life. And I chose not to listen to them. People told me I was gifted. People told me that my hands were special. People told me, that all these different things. And oh no, this person doesn't know
you
me
couldn't
because
see
they're
it
not
yet.
me. They can't see it from my lens, which
Well,
is
I was saying you
better.
couldn't see it yet at that time.
Right, but they could see it.
They could
And then
see it.
let me offer the closing statement to this answer. I really appreciate you asking this. And then I'd actually like to flip it on you, Greg. But the closing statement to this question is, say you're looking at a little, I'm going to take you two through this quick journey. It's going to take 35 seconds. You down?
Oh,
Okay,
good.
this is going to blow your mind. I want you to look at a parking lot piece, a piece of a parking lot about this big. I want you to think there's a chewed up piece of gum there, a rusty penny, and like a bottle. When I see trash that people littered, it just like drives me nuts. So just think like, ugh, a bunch of trash in a parking lot. Okay. Now that is your viewpoint. Okay. Now we're going to put our eyeballs into one of my DJI drones and we're going to fly up 800 feet. When we're looking down at that little parking lot, that's actually a pull off in the beautiful Pacific Coast Highway on Big Sur. It's one of the most exquisite pieces of real estate in the entire world. And it's this curvy, mountainous side up to the ocean. And when you fly up in the air from the drone, all you see is this stunning scenery. And so if you just change the viewpoint, you can still look down there and see that little piece of junk and the litter and the gum. But if you look at the big picture, you can see this incredible beauty, and that little tiny thing becomes worthless, meaningless.
What we focus on grows, man. I love it. Have you ever read The Alchemist, Mike?
Yeah.
The book. And so, listeners, if you haven't read The Alchemist, it's an exceptional. I've done it several times. I love it. It's a story in a story. It's a really, really good book. It made me think of, in that book, they refer to it as, in the story, in the fictional story that they tell, they call it the omens. And I like that word, but everyone else overlay the proper label or word that you would use. But when we're on the right track, we get confirmations. When we're on the right track, we get confirmations. I believe that. I get them all the time, and I love it. So maybe we should tell everyone a little bit about me.
I was just going to ask.
What do you got? Yeah, why don't you, if you want to ask any questions you have
Can I
directly, and then
ask Greg some questions?
please.
Yeah. So Greg, what inspired you? I look at you as like a teacher, mentor, friend. And that's very rare to find the three of those together. I'm not saying all of you are going to get those privileges. I'm just saying I look at Greg like that. Now, what inspired you to want to reach out and pull people into this knowledge that you've seen,
Yeah,
that you are embodying?
dude. Okay. The what inspired me was, so once upon a time. So let's start this journey at childhood. I don't think on Success After Trauma, I don't think I've shared with those listening my story. My biological mother died of cancer when I was 3. And so my father was an over-the-road truck driver. That leaves an empty house. And then my stepmother pretty seamlessly enters into the scene, taking care of us very shortly after my mother's death. And my stepmother was extremely psychologically and physically abusive at very high levels. In the next 12 weeks, I'll share some examples with you guys. But when we say high level or extremely, I'll go ahead and put out there, when I was 7 years old, I witnessed my stepmother kill my 5-year-old brother. I know we're like, did we just hear him say that right? I said that right. My 5-year-old brother is no longer on earth with us. She picked him up by his ankles and dropped him on the concrete, and it severed his brainstem. Ultimately, he was taken off life support because without the brainstem, there was no connection for the brain to tell the body what to do. The heart was still beating though, but he was taken off life support. So as you can imagine, everything under that took place. At the age of 10, I ran away from my house. At the age of 17, I joined the Marine Corps from a group home. I went to Iraq as a Marine Corps infantryman 3 times in the beginning of the war. And so we can imagine that there was a little bit of PTSD to deal with, a little bit of baggage, a little bit of trauma to unpack. I remember telling people that I couldn't do what they were doing, or that I really thought that I genuinely, there was a time that I believed that I was not capable of more, much like there was a time that most of you listening believed in Santa. When you believed in Santa, you knew there was a guy delivering the presents in one night to every house around the world. When you believed in Santa. When I believed I couldn't do these things, it was Santa. Eventually, someone told you at school, Santa's not real. Your parents are bringing the presents. And you thought, huh? What kind of liar are you, dog-faced liar? And so you go home and you ask your parents, and you say, hey, my buddy said that you guys were bringing the presents of Santa. They told you, no, it's Santa, blah, blah. They tell you that. And you're like, okay, because you want to believe based upon all of your prior experiences. So people would share with me, hey, Greg, you have a gift. Hey, Greg. No. I still was attached to the old belief. But eventually, you start hearing more information about how Santa's not real. And then you start thinking about it, and you said, we don't even have a chimney. How'd it come down our chimney? And I've never seen a reindeer fly. And could one person actually, I don't care how fast they're moving, could one human actually get to every single house in the entire world in one night? It started not to make sense no more. And eventually you knew there actually wasn't Santa. Much like that manner, eventually I came to place to realize that I was capable of what anyone else was capable of. My passion to share with other people is I know where you're at right now. You listening right now. I know where you're at only because I walked in those steps. I know that your belief, I know that you can't believe some of the things I'm saying yet. And I won't stop. I think back to when I didn't believe, and I want to be that person for someone that just does not like, I know you don't believe yet, and I don't give a shit. I'm walking by
There
your
it is.
side until you get there.
There it is. Can we walk two steps back? Can you just give me a couple examples of what was going through your head, like fresh out of the Marine Corps, for example? Because I'm going to use that point of reference because you had the build up to that point, and then you had the action, which I look at also as okay, now I don't have to think about all that other shit that happened back there. But now I'm thinking about the bullets that might be flying in the air, right? Or my friend over there that just got carried off by a medic or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what you saw. I don't even think we've really talked about that. We've talked about some fun stories, but what went through your head after the Marine Corps? Like, why couldn't you do, like, what did you even want to do? Where was that channel? Like, how were you thinking?
Yeah, well, man, that's a great question. What did I even want to do? I wanted to survive. Like I was so friggin' low on the spectrum or so far
Mhm.
out on the pendulum. I wanted to survive, and when I say I wanted to survive, I got out of the Marine Corps in January 2011, and I almost killed myself. I wanted just to survive. I won that fucking battle. I'm here today. I mean that I didn't like to think like, well, maybe I could be an astronaut and then whatever it was, doctor, lawyer, a plumber, HVAC guy, whatever. And then that thought, I wasn't even far enough for the thought to even be a possibility to say I can't actually do it. The thought didn't even exist. I just wanted to fucking survive. I felt, I genuinely, when I got out of the military, I felt like a burden on society. When I got out of the military, I again ran away from home. I was about 10, 11 years old. When I got out of the military, so in the military, we served 8 years in the military. We established some deep, deep bonds. And I begun to forget about my past because now I had family and friends. But when I got out, all those people went back to their homes. And a lot of the people that I served with were facing their own tough battles of PTSD. And I felt all alone in the world. And I really didn't. I remember thinking to myself, uh, who would I affect if I did kill myself? I remember having the logical thought, and what I came down to was who would have a negative effect. I thought to myself, I said, well, my dad, I thought, which even though we didn't have a relationship, I thought, I said, well, maybe this would affect my dad. And I thought to myself, I said, I don't even know if he would get word, but maybe he would have to get notified. But if he got notified, I'm being super raw and transparent for everyone. My dad lives not far from me. I love my dad as a human. I'm being super raw for everyone. I can't love him as a father because I didn't get him as a father. I love him as a human. I really believe that, and I'm still congruent with. I believe if word got to my dad that I killed myself, I believe my dad would use that story for sympathy for himself. When I really
Wow.
thought about who would I negatively affect, the only people I could come up with was the hazmat people that would clean up the scene because they would have to live with that memory. I
Let me
really
ask you,
felt, yeah, tell me,
yeah,
ask it, go ahead.
wow. Thank you for the share. Let me ask you this. So, have you had other people in life that have came through for periods of time that have acted like a father figure? Like, have you had older dudes than you, like, just teach you stuff, encourage you?
That's, man, when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was like, no. Then I was like, no, really, Greg? No. And as I went a little deeper, there's no question. Oh my gosh, many of, be it male or female, but if directly speaking of male, there's been
Sure.
many of male mentors that have come through my life. I think my first reaction was like, no. And I was like, wait, hold on. Nobody's helped you, Greg. That's the biggest bullshit. People have helped me. What I think I related to when you asked that question was I didn't know what a father figure was.
Oh, okay, okay. So you've had, yes. I heard this the other day and it rang my bell, which is like, even if we don't have a mother or a father, those figures will energetically step into your life, and it will be a multitude of different people or a
Absolutely.
compilation. But that is like, it's crazy. Like, if you can actually, like, say we did like timeline therapy, which we could talk about another day, but like, say you got into that state where you can go all the way back and like your timeline may look like this or like this. I hope I'm giving everyone a visual, like past and present, right? But you can actually compile those different voices into that figure that you are longing for so badly. And it
Hmm.
is my belief that you can resolve some of those I didn't have feelings.
Yeah, dude, I agree with you 100%. Timeline therapy, like you said, we can dive in that one another, but man, such a powerful modality.
The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com.
You know what? We'll dive in that one another day. Dude, it was great sharing. What other so what else can I share with what other questions have been provoked for you? Or what else can I share to bring people up to speed? I think that they probably everyone listening, I think you probably got a general idea that we've had some challenges.
Yeah,
Um,
let me bust Greg's balls for a little bit longer. Sorry for the language, but
please.
let me chop you up for a second. When I first met Greg, he was more of like a what I would, if I were to concoct like what a typical like meathead, jarhead, motivated worker type looks like that was Greg from SoCal, kind of like wearing the shorts and the sandals. He was in really good shape. Not that you're not right now, but like he was jacked. He was all business, like literally. And it's interesting because knowing what he knows and what I know now, it's probably like, hey, I'm going to build up this thing around me right here.
Keep going,
Right.
yeah.
I'm going to do really well in this thing and nobody's going
Nobody
to
will look at
ask
all my
me.
other shit.
Right. And I'm not saying that's a negative. People
Right.
build, but they always come back to the
You
unfulfillment.
got to.
However, for this context, right? Like, um, talk a little bit about like how you were successful as a realtor, for example. It's like starting with nothing, like you built up quickly, and then like when did you find that unfulfillment switch just flip back on?
Dude, great question. So NLP is the answer. NLP is the answer for me individually.
But when
For
did the
those,
question, when did, sorry, I just,
go
when
ahead.
did the question hit you? I was going to get to NLP, but like, yes, that is your answer. That is an answer. That is what cracked Greg's egg wide open and made it into a beautiful over easy creation, which I like over easy. So I'm saying that
Love it.
it's got a lot of protein. You don't kill all the cal anyway, and the vitamin D. But anyway, like what got you to the question first? Was it, did you start learning about NLP and then you just
Oh,
got
okay, okay,
cracked
okay.
open? Yeah, like when you were in real estate, you were making money, you know what I mean? Like the parenting situation's improving because now you can afford stuff. But what, like once you cleared out these surface level hardships, like what cracked the egg open to even NLP, by the way, is not just a thing. It's literally a very broad, very direct study of linguistics, in the form of
Human
excellence
algorithms.
and
Yep.
programming and how your mind works. And there's more, but
Yeah,
that's
real
enough.
quick real quick, and I'm going to dive into your question real quick for everyone listening. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro-linguistic programming. And to put it into a real short thing for all my IT people or anyone that's ever done coding 101, you've heard if this then that. This is how all computer coding works. So if this happens, then that has to happen, and then we layer coding. So then if this and this and this happen, then that happens. So every time you click something on your computer, because this happened, that happens, and it pops up. Well, your mind works the exact same way. If this, then that. So the trigger reaction. And so NLP is really breaking down the complete algorithm of if this, then that for your mind. Just for everyone listening, it's like, what the hell are they talking about? NLP?
Right.
It's in
And
what?
not everybody is going to, in fact, probably most people are not going to jump up and realize they want to learn this unless they have some sort of interest, which usually comes from what I've experienced, usually comes from like an aha moment, which is like, I should probably learn how my mind works. Um, we use a lot of different elements that are clearly stated in the NLP, but like affirmations, positive affirmations is one of those. We don't even have to go into that. It's just, if you're doing that, you are using something that is outlined in NLP very specifically. The unconscious mind, or your subconscious, as you may call it, but your unconscious mind does not process negative. So therefore, I'm going to say positive things about myself.
Yep.
Like if
Yep.
you say, like, I don't want to go outside and fall, you're thinking, I want to go fall, or go fall, more likely. But if you say, I want to go outside and have fun, you're thinking, I want to have fun.
I'm
So
gonna be safe.
I'm right.
I'm gonna be secured. I'm gonna be successful in this trip. I'm gonna enjoy this trip. Man, the power for everyone listening. Some of you are listening. You're like, man, affirmations. I'm so glad. Some of you are listening. Like, are they really talking about affirmations? They're more powerful than you ever friggin' imagined in your life. They have a ton of
Yeah.
power. Let me answer your question, Mike.
Yes.
That's a great question, and you alluded to it that if someone like NLP is, but if you get to NLP, you probably had some like earlier shit happen that like brought,
Right.
like, if you're a ground zero, like I couldn't comprehend NLP in 2011. So how do we get there? And the answer is books. And real short, I started reading books in 2011. The first book was on forgiveness, and I genuinely I hadn't read books before that. So first book was on forgiveness, and I literally, when I read this book, I went out and I was very alone in the world. Truthfully, in actuality, I was not just like I felt alone, but in this very very chapter, I genuinely was alone. I actually, dude, call it crazy. I had an eviction notice. The utilities were talking. I didn't know how to fucking take care of myself as an adult. I'm just being candid with everyone. I was institutionalized. I was in juvenile detention centers essentially from I was 12 to 17, Marine Corps till I was 26 or whatever the math is. Like there was a chow hall my whole, like I was told exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it from 3 years old to 26. And then I was released out in the world and was like, do whatever you want. It wasn't great. So I was actually alone. I didn't have yet. I didn't have friends. I didn't have family. So I was actually alone. So I didn't have the blessing that I had. All of your trauma has the blessing that I had is I didn't have any fucking negative voice boxes in my ear. None. All of your friends are on the fucking are commentators of your life. Oh, he did it like, oh, you're gonna do it like that. Oh, you shouldn't do this. Oh, that means the blessing that I had, like all alone, poor Greg. Nah, it was a blessing. So I read the first book and I literally went out in life and I pretended. I fucking pretended. I experimented with life and I did things to see if this, then that. So if I do something else, what happens? And I was like, oh shit, I got a different result. So that led me like, let's read another book. Let's read another book. So 2011, I might have read two books. 2012, maybe five. 2013, 14, 2015, I set a goal for 12 books. I was like, I'm going to do a book a month. Watch me. I ended that year doing 25 books.
Nice.
I now do about 52 books a year, which is one per week. I do a ton of audiobooks. I love audiobooks because those sound waves have a neurological effect on my body. So I read all these books over there. You can hundreds of books. Okay, cool. And all of them have like every book has like a little tidbit in it, right? And so I'm building this thing with these tidbits, but they were scattered out. So it was like, oh, this happened. There was a book that talked about this. Oh, this thing. And how did I do that one time and it worked well for me? Oh, this thing. I overheard someone talking about NLP. Mind you, let's talk about this. So I actually have access to tools now. So I begin succeeding in business, but I was deathly afraid of, like, I would lose sleep to make sure I succeeded in business, just like Mike said, because I wanted you to see me as a guy that was successful in business. Don't look at everything else. Don't look over here. I'm doing good in business. And I want it more. I believed that we controlled our destiny in the 3D world. And what I mean by, I believe that we had to do a thing to get somewhere. I didn't realize how much power the mind had, even though I had been studying, and I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my unconscious mind. I overheard people talking about NLP one day, and I had no clue what it was. And I went and did some research, and then I went down that journey. We can talk more about that another day, but as Mike said, as we talked about, that journey is what rocked everything. But what was the trigger point? The trigger point was I had collected a lot of information, and I was able to use it in one little piece of my life, which was business. But family wasn't where it needed to be. My mindset wasn't where it needed to be. My emotional maturity was that of like a 12-year-old. My friends, I didn't have friends. People were after me. I had to protect myself. So up until I went to NLP, I was most of you are doing this. Most of you are showing you're compartmentalizing. You're showing up to work. You're doing the thing. But when you get home, we're hollow inside. NLP truly helped me, me. It'll be its own thing for everyone. Truly helped me go through a process of trusting and loving myself, and knowing that I don't have to do everything. Does that help answer? What do you think, Mike? What does that bring you
Yeah,
to?
I was gonna say, I want to close out the NLP just for 1 second by also
Please.
saying that I have taken Greg's high level, high ticket program. I continue to study this work with Greg and with other people surrounded in our small but growing fast community, which is really, really, really powerful. And it's also one of the main tools that I use within myself and also to teach. And I have a culmination of experiences, much like I talked about earlier, which I have actually taken the time to define as a structure. Like, this is how you can master something without 10,000 hours. This is how you can get to the core of yourself and find the thing behind the thing. This is how you can actually, we have my wife and I have a company that we've formed. We've been trying to put this together, but we were missing some stuff. And it takes you from discovery, right? So healing and discovery onto implementation. And while that might sound very simple in business, that's who we're actually looking to help. We're looking to help leaders up here so that they can inspire all the people that are working for them. We're looking to help leaders so that they can make a change with a bunch of other people. So when we go one to many, many leaders, we are affecting the many people that are working for the leaders. And we believe that we can make a massive positive impact. And so, because of all of this, we have two facets. We have Achieve Ascension Academy, and we also have Achieve Ascension Transformational Events, which we can talk more about another time, but we're going to have some like brain breaking, okay, because we're going to actually go into the heart and into the gut, but we're going to bust up your logic and go into who you are and have a transformational experience, which we might even have, which we mentioned here, like some timeline therapy if Greg's down, and some other things like firewalking and some stuff that's really going to put you out of your comfort zone. We're going to get you into a state, and then we're going to access areas of your mind that you've never even wanted to. And also because of like what Greg said earlier about like, let me just bust him for a second. Greg does not like to express the extent of how good he is at something. So like, when I said like Greg was doing really good as a realtor, like literally the dude was in like the top 2% in the United States and like probably won't share that, but wearing like flip-flops and shorts, like that's definitely something to commend. I was in like the top 3% working, 6 to 10 hours a week and also wearing flip-flops. And he beat me out. And also though, like we had different takes on it, but I looked up to this dude. I was like, holy smokes, like this guy is just balling out here. And then now it's dawning on me that both of us were like, the reason I didn't work as much is because I spent so much time running from these things that I didn't know how to process. And Greg did not want to talk about the other things that are behind the wall. And in fact, I would venture to I'm going to declare something that I believe is probably very true. And I'm still learning this, but this just came to my head. When you get into a conversation you don't know with someone you don't know, and they're like, boom, they start talking about business or sales or something really surface level, that is generally, from what I've experienced, a massive red flag that this person wants to talk about this thing right here so much so they don't have to talk about anything else. And guys, I don't care if you're making $25 million a year and up. If that's what you present as your storefront, right? Your front forward facing thing, it's probably because you can take a look in the mirror and there's a lot of backward facing stuff that you don't want to talk about. And this is not to insult you. This is what I've been figuring out. And I'm still a student on this course, or on this track, right? This stuff has massively made a positive impact in the forward facing stuff, in the business, in the family, in the faith. And by the way, faith, you can define that, but faith is so freaking important. Faith is what gives you charisma. If you didn't know, you didn't know. But if you walked outside and you needed to go get something from someone and you didn't have faith that was going to happen, guess what? It ain't going to happen, or there's a very low chance. And we can break that down neurologically, like you haven't programmed your RAS to find the things needed to make that happen, but it still comes from faith. And the faith puts that there in the first place. And man, we need to talk about this on another episode. Like we need to talk about like the goal setting, or like, hey, here's the thing in the future, and then how that becomes a tangible action or a thing. I look at it as like a blank room, and then your unconscious mind, through several processes, will decorate that room for you. It'll find the people needed. It'll find the tools needed. It'll search out and laser in on the books needed, because it was there to begin with. Just like Greg and I said, like the father figures come into your life, like those figures are there, and it's our choice whether or not we want to accept them. And actually just getting to that acceptance point is so rare. That's why when you meet a person that has stepped into their power, or that has actually realized this and surrendered, those people are so fun to talk to, in my opinion. You can, you know what I mean? You could talk about TV shows and football and this and that and the other thing, but like, dude, when you meet somebody that is excited to celebrate you, it's probably because they celebrate themselves.
Boom.
And like those people can be like massive positive levers in your life.
Dude, I love it. I love it. And then in the next 12 weeks, we are going to take you guys through an entire series so that you can step into your power. Listen, we're going to give you the tools that you need. We're going to give you exactly what it is that you need to do. If you're struggling with how to make it happen, put something in the comments, put something in the questions, DM us, reach out to us. We are here to serve. We have a servant's heart. You are capable of doing so much more than you are right now. And it comes down to stepping into your power, into unapologetically being you. And here's one piece that we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you how to be unapologetically you with love. We don't have to be mad at anyone because they're not our people in this chapter. In fact, I love them. You can go over there. I might be seeing you in the next chapter. We're going to teach you how to be unapologetically you with love. Before we get out of here today, I want to give you guys a sneak peek of next week and what's coming. That way you guys can be excited for it. And Mike, have you ever read Relentless, Tim Grover?
I have not.
Okay, worth a read. We're going to talk about a little bit some of the concepts of that book. You might get a chance to read this week, but even if Mike hasn't read it by next week, you won't need to read the book. Tim Grover, so he was a coach. People like I don't know if you heard of the guy, Kobe Bryant, people like that. He's done a few things, and what he talks about in that book, and what we're going to talk about next week, because I know. It doesn't matter if Mike hasn't read this book. I know Mike has a lot to share on this because he shared a lot with me in the past. And what he talks about, what Tim Grover talks about in this book, is your alter ego. Or he talks about creating. So everyone that he ever coached, the Black Mamba. So if you ever heard Mike Tyson talk about fighting, he said when he got in the ring, he was trying to kill the other human being. But outside of the ring, he didn't have a desire to end other people's lives. They had an alter ego that they stepped into. They built who they were. They decided who they were going to be as a winner and what that winner did. And then they stepped into that power. Mariah Carey has done this. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Mike Tyson. Just a few people that have achieved certain levels of success in their life. And we're not talking about money. Although I think all of them did pretty good with money too. Mike, do you have any closing words for us? That's what we're going to go over next week. We're going to talk about creating your own alter ego and help you step into your power. Most people are afraid of creating their alter ego because your friend commentary are going to say, that's not you. And the answer you're going to give them is, that's not who I used to be. If you want to hang out for this commentation, you're going to have to witness the rebirth of Greg. Mike, what do you got for everybody?
Amen. Amen to that. No, I don't really have any commentary other than, I can't wait to share with you guys the characters that I've developed, that I believe you can become by choice. But one of those, one of my favorites is the Spartan, because this is a character that's almost like the limitless man, but he can do anything and he dies for glory later,
Mm.
not like at the 300 point where he's like, come and take it. We will actually achieve Ascension Academy. Achieve Ascension
Academy.
Academy.
Good.
I like Cadillacs.
Yeah.
No, Achieve Ascension Academy will actually have a Spartan program for men where we reprogram you, or we give you the tools to reprogram yourself. You're going to have to choose to do the work, and there's going to be some exchange so that you got skin in the game. And when you graduate, if you graduate, you will actually get a 1-to-1 replica Spartan sword. And this can be your anchor, which I suggest putting in your office. On the next podcast, I may even have that to show you guys. I actually have one over there, but I grab that sucker when I need to feel like a certain type of beast
Mm.
mode. And it weighs like, I don't know, 6 pounds. And like, you can just feel the girth in this thing. Like, imagine carrying this and swinging it. But anyway, like, yeah, I can't wait to, and that's just one of the characters, but that was a really powerful one for me to develop. And it's kind of like the alter egos where you step into this person and you become limitless and you can
Boom.
handle these things. And that's not
Boom.
the character you want to be with like your 3-year-old girl, but we have another one for that. So we could talk about that too. Greg, I had such a great time. I want to thank you sincerely for picking me as your co-host. I love you. I love having conversations with you. I love learning with you. I'm going to read that fucking book. And
You're gonna love it, bro.
yeah, I know you're not going to read the book in a week, dude. Like, if you know anything about me, which some of you do, I have a couple thousand books. I have like 900 of them right
Yeah,
there
yeah.
or more.
A
And then I
book a
have,
week is actually par for us.
yeah, why not? Okay, you want me to read a book? I'll read a book. Let's talk about it.
Well,
But
I do
anyway,
on average. I do, and I don't know if I don't know if you've tracked it or not, but I my belief is you're probably similar. But I conquer at least a book a week, 52 books a year. So a book a week
I'm
is
so
very, very
this
par.
year, yeah, this year I'm not there. I have done 100 books in a year.
That's
Actually
impressive.
reading the paper.
Yeah.
And I took a speed reading course, like a $12 speed reading course, which blew my mind. And I actually, let's close this out with this. I actually listened to a Kevin Trudeau tape,
Hmm, hmm,
which
hmm.
was wild. And save your opinions about the guy because the guy is a genius. But he talks about, if you read the same book under different states of physiology, right, you're going to pick up different things.
Dude,
What he's
even in just
talking
different
about,
times. If you
right?
read a
He's
book a
talking
month
about your
later, you're
art,
gonna get something different.
right? And when I listen to something, so if I listen to something that's very, very worth it, I'll put it in like a rare category, like Think and Grow Rich is in there. And I'll read it, I'll listen to it, and then I'll listen to it and take notes. And it's like a threefold. And I'll put it on my motorcycle helmet, because then I can't take notes. I'm forced to just download, and then I'll listen to it at the desk while I'm working, and then boom, there comes the remarkable. Here's some notes or whatever. But anyway, I highly recommend that if you have a book that's like really sticks out to you. In fact, Greg and I are going to have an episode on here where we each get to talk about 3 books that have impacted our lives so deeply, which that'll be a really fun episode. We've already been talking about it, so I can't wait to do that as well. But yeah, so anyway, that's all I got to say. Namaste, peace, shalom, amen.
Awesome. We
Adios.
appreciate you guys. If you're listening to the audio, check us out on YouTube. It's Success After Trauma. Subscribe to the channel so you can stay looped in and catch the video. If you're watching the video, go ahead and download us from your favorite podcast streaming platform. We are on all the major platforms. If you can't reach us, or if you can't find us, reach out to us. And make sure you share the podcast with your friends, because we want to help as many people as possible step into their power. Be great. It's already in you. We'll see you next week.
The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com.